Hiya everybody, back again with another debunking of a flat earth video that's literally hot off the press. We have Brian's Logic, who still believes that he can prove that the Blackpool image is proof of flat earth. Let's get into this. Now, around a year ago, I had a debate with Brian's Logic on the Blackpool image. If you're unsure what the Blackpool image is, I'll show you now. And here we have it, the famous Blackpool image that destroyed flat earth once and for all. Now what you can see is you can clearly see Blackpool Tower, and behind it you can see a mountain, or two mountains actually. One of them's called Dow Crag, and there are set distances between the two, there are set elevations for everything that you can see in here, and there is a known observer height. And because of all that, it was quite easy to work out the trigonometry on this. So much so that Brian still can't work out the trigonometry on it. We'll get into this. Let's listen to his claims.
Okay, this video is going to be called Blackpool Revisited. We all remember, if you were around at the time, back last year, early last year I think it was, in 2021, this whole Blackpool photograph thing turned up with all this nonsense. And
no, Brian, it wasn't nonsense. What it was myself found an image, I analysed it, it did not work in any way, shape or form that you would expect it to on a flat plane. I then presented it to the community, and people, very intelligent people, including Conspiracy Cats, Ruhif, and many of the other debunking channels, also were able to quite categorically back up my own research on this to prove that it only matched a globe. You and the rest of the flat earthers tried many different tactics to try and bring it back into a flat earth proof. None more so than Flatzoid and yourself, who we had a 5-hour debate with. The problem being that you don't know how to do things properly, and we're going to expose that right now.
I ended up having a 5-hour debate with Randy on Conspiracy Cast channel over it, and there was a lot of back and forth, but it was proven that it wasn't proof of a globe at all. And one of the arguments I made, and I didn't have this software or know about this software at the time, didn't have my head screwed on, should have been looking for it. One of the arguments I made at the time was this, and I made this within the debate with Randy, and he conceded on it, actually. He conceded on it. We had a break and he conceded on it afterwards. And I don't really care what he has to say about it. He can look at or anyone can look at the debate. It's on Conspiracy Cat channel. It's a 5-hour debate. The point I made was this, right? This was an orthographic view viewed within, I was going to make it bigger, within, there's an elevation profile from Google Earth. Here is the observer about 20 foot. Here is 520 foot high Blackpool Tower. There's the line of sight. So with this line of sight, if we bring it over, it seems to intersect the top of Dow Craig, right? But the problem is this. Look at the height of Dow Craig. It's about half a mile high. So if you take this half a mile high and you look at the distance between Blackpool Tower here and this half a mile high, because it's an orthographic view, they can just make this big, small, this area in between big or small. The point is that this half mile high is not the distance between here and here. That was my point. So there was no point in, like Randy was pointing out, that the intersection line touched the top of the mountain. Yeah, but that's when there's only...
I see, so it's all about the distance between Blackpool Tower and Dow Crag. Got you.
This much distance between them. In reality, there's a much bigger distance between them. So, to make it bigger, so, right, so if the line continues on, this red line, this is the observer's line of sight. Once I'm looking over the top of the tower and the line continues on, and we move the mountain back a bit, because we move it back here to be about 8 miles away. It's about 4 miles away here, about 8 miles away back there, maybe, or more, maybe more, whatever. The point is that as we move the mountain back and keep the line of sight, the angle of sight, I should say, the same, what happens is that the line of sight or angle of sight ends up going over the top of where the top of the mountain would be.
Got you. Right, so if you take the mountain and you move it out of its position here on Earth and you push it further away on your map, or you push it away on your diagram further away, it will change the line of sight. Got you. The problem is, in the real world, there are known distances, there are known heights, there are known elevations. In your world, you can just move things around to any distance you want to make it fit your narrative. We might see that playing out in a minute.
So that was my point. that once that mountain moved back, right, because obviously this is not the full distance. Like this is not like 64 kilometers between this Blackpool Tower and the mountain here. If the mountain is only just less than half a mile high, 778 meters, then how could it be this big with only this much distance between them? It couldn't be. Obviously this is an orographic view, so they're not showing the full distance between the two. So my point was, when the mountain moved back further to its full distance, then the line of sight looking over the top of the tower would end up looking over the top of the mountain.
Except this diagram on screen right now was taken from Google Earth with the exact distances on. In fact, you just took an elevation profile which showed the distances in line of sight. The problem for you is that not only were your lines just randomly splashed on the screen, claiming to say that that was 20-foot elevation, when it's clearly about 150 feet, but that's neither here nor there. Not only that, but you put Blackpool Tower in the wrong position, which we had to clarify with you, and then you claimed that Blackpool Tower was the Dow Crag was 8 miles further away. All of that is just totally wrong, and you've still not rectified it. You're still going to make the same mistakes.
Because our opposition, the argument is that the mountain should always be intersecting the line of sight from the observer because the tower was so much lower.
Yes, that was your argument, and it was wrong. And because it was wrong, it didn't confirm to a flat Earth. It actually confirmed to a globe Earth, and that's the problem, because it didn't match your supposed theory of what it should look like on a plane. You just wanted to move things around a little bit to make it look like it matched your idea.
And I argued, obviously, that it was an optical drop and visual occultation issue. I'm not even going to show them now. I have videos out there on what they are. And I showed them with this and how it works with this and what they...
I don't even know where to begin. It's like pulling teeth with Brian. You tell him how to do things, and he still messes it up. You tell him the distances involved, and he still puts the wrong distances in. You tell him the elevations of things, and he still puts the wrong elevations in. Now, I don't know whether he's doing this on purpose, or he's just getting it wrong because he's so thick. I can't figure it out. Maybe it's some cognitive dissonance coming in here that he just doesn't want to accept the truth that we live on a globe. I could do that. Why can't he? Well, let's move past this. Let's get into his actual analysis. Now, what he's doing here is he's going to bore us to death by showing us that his scale for elevations, funnily enough, is actually quite accurate. Or is it? It's accurate if you want to believe what he wants you to believe. There's a big problem at some point, though.
I have the observer here, right, at 19.3 kilometers from Blackpool Tower, which is about 12 miles. There's Blackpool Tower, right? The observer is at 6 meters here. Blackpool Tower is 158 meters high, right? That's its height. And I have Dale Craig at 778 meters and 64.38 kilometers from Blackpool Tower. So there's a 52 mile or around just over 83 kilometers distance between the observer and Dale Craig. Okay, so I'm just going to show you. I'm going to just show first. I'll just show the observer. Let's go in here. It'll be a bit of the in and out stuff going on. I have to go right in because it's such a distance and such a size difference and height difference. So right. Okay, 0.06, 6 meters.
Yeah, so as he's scaling this right now, that is, to his scale, 6 meters. Well done, Brian.
1.58, 158.
Yes, Brian, 158 meters. That is the height of Blackpool Tower.
Okay, 778. Can you see over?
Yes, scaled to 778 meters in elevation above sea level.
We are 7.78. So 778 meters, 64.38 kilometers from Blackpool Tower. Now, to the important bit, right? There is 500 meters high, right? This here. It's going to show here. This here. See if I have it down. Right. This is the Blackpool Tower height, 158 meters in comparison. This little purple thing here, in comparison to Dale Craig. So this purple cross here is the height of Blackpool Tower in comparison to this orange one up, this orange dot up here, which is the height of Blackpool of Down Craig. So it's 158 meters here, 778 meters up here. I have this line here set at 500 meters. This is the angle line I brought from the observer, set it at 500 meters. Okay, so that's at 500 meters up on Down Craig. I'm just going to show. Not that it really matters anymore, but I just want to tie up loose ends. I don't like to leave nothing.
Oh, it matters, Brian. And if anyone's tying up loose ends here, that would be me. And the only person who keeps coming back to this and screwing this up is you.
Bring it into the tower, into Blackpool Tower, keeping it at 500 meters. As you can see, it's intersecting the tower. So if you look at the photo, the original photo, I actually should have it with me. I can't find it on my computer. The original photo.
Oh, I can find it. And here we have it. And what we're looking at here is Blackpool Tower with Dow Crag directly behind it. Old Man of Coniston is to the right, slightly higher. But Dow Crag itself, 778 meters. Blackpool Tower in the foreground, reaching about the observation deck.
If the observer is looking about 3/4 way up the tower, they will be intersecting about 500 meters up the mountain, right? So that's all fine. But my argument was, because the claim is that there's no way the observer can look over the top of the tower and not see the top of the mountain, right? That it's gone down behind our curve, right? So that's nonsense. What other rubbish? So I'm going to go in here now, and I'm going to bring the angle line from the observer just up above, right? There's the angle line. Bring it up here. Just going to find it. Now, up there, it's at 800 meters. So the angle line is at 800 meters, right? I could even bring it down lower, if maybe even bring it down lower, maybe. You know, 790 meters, right? So as you can see, just want to make sure, as you can see, it's over the top of Dow Craig, right? So an observer, right, with the observer, I'm just going to show, where's it going to, right? The observer's eye line is looking over the top of Dow Craig now by, I don't know, 10-15 meters. And as you can see, they're looking over the top of Blackpool Tower.
So in Brian's own mathematics here, he's saying that on a flat plane, it should appear that the mountain is higher than Blackpool Tower. Now I'm seeing that Blackpool Tower is actually substantially bigger than the mountain. Yet in Brian's own GeoGebra calculator, when he's scaled it out to his distances, bearing in mind, it still shows that the line of sight would be substantially higher to the mountain, and Blackpool Tower will be substantially smaller than the mountain. And he's putting this out as a flat earth proof. I need to take a screenshot of this so that you guys can see side by side. So I've just taken a screenshot of Brian's analysis. This is an analysis on the right hand side, and this is reality. And in the scale that he's done, he's showing that the height of the mountain, this line of sight, just 12 meters above the mountain, just 12 meters above it, would be substantially higher than the tower. Substantially higher than the tower. And what we're seeing is that in reality, it is substantially lower than the tower. In actual fact, I don't understand how he even put this out as a flat earth proof on his channel. It's not boding well for Brian at this point, I don't think. Maybe he's going to come back to the globe. What do you think? Or is he going to screw it up even more? Let's see.
So this is only slightly over the top of Blackpool Tower, really. It's not too far above Blackpool Tower. So if they look...
I'm sorry? What? I'm sorry, what? It's only slightly above. What? It should be a third of the way down Blackpool Tower. What part of this aren't you getting, Brian?
Looking up over the top of Blackpool Tower, then they will be also looking above. Their angle line will be above Dow Craig. And as you can see, there's no curve to this diagram. It is horizontal, proving that when the observer looks over the top of Blackpool Tower or up at Blackpool Tower, they will not see the top of Dow Craig. They will not see the top of Dow Craig. They will always be looking up in the air above the top of Dow Craig across a horizontal plane, proving that all that Blackpool stuff, that arguments that the borders brought was total and utter super rubbish. They wouldn't, even though there was a black swan involved in it, it was called Black.
What? So, because you put an arbitrary line just 12 meters above Dow Crag, you're now going to claim that that matches reality. Deary me, Brian, this is terrible. How about you put a line in from the top of Blackpool Tower? How about you do that and see where that intersects? Or has that already been done?
Blackpool swan for the laugh. Like, it was such pathetic rubbish. And Ranty supposedly changed sides due to that photograph. You know, it's so terrible. It's such utter rubbish. And here is the absolute proof here. You know, that when the observer is looking over the top of Blackpool Tower, as I said, as I showed, look, right, if the mountain goes back to where it should be, then the in comparison, if it's all scaled right, then the eye line will go above the mountain.
Yeah, just remember that though, if it's scaled right, which we will get into in a little bit. But trust me, this is not good. This is not a good look for Flat Earth. So he's literally just said, if you just tiny bit look across Blackpool Tower, tiny bit above the top, you will be 12 meters above the mountain. Except it wasn't just a tiny bit above Blackpool Tower. In actual fact, when you scale it, seeing as you've scaled it to Blackpool being 158 meters, the line's actually intersecting around about 180 meters above. So if you look 22 meters above Blackpool Tower, you will then intersect 12 meters above Dow Crag. What sort of logic's that? How about you do what you did in Conspiracy Cat's video, where you didn't want to put the line down onto the tower? You didn't want to do that. Do you remember that, Brian? Do you remember that? You didn't want to lower the line down onto the tower in that video from a year ago. And funnily enough, you don't want to do it in this either. You want to slap a line way above Blackpool Tower so that you can then claim that just by skimming across Blackpool Tower, you will also see that Dow Crag is below eye line of Blackpool Tower. It's painful. Painful, Brian.
Stuff, that arguments that the borders brought was total and utter super rubbish. They wouldn't, even though there was a black swan involved in it, it was called Blackpool swan for the laugh. Like, it was such pathetic rubbish. And Ranty supposedly changed sides due to that photograph. You know, it's so terrible. It's such utter rubbish. And here is the absolute proof here. You know, that when the observer is looking over the top of Blackpool Tower, as I said, as I showed, look, right, if the mountain goes back to where it should be, then the in comparison, if it's all scaled right, then the eye line will go above the mountain. You know, there's no big deal about it. You know, I mean, if I move this up a bit more, I move it up to 800 meters. I say, right, one more time.
How about you lower it down? How about you lower it down to just skimming the tower? How about that?
Look, now it's up even higher. So if it's already above the tower, it's going to be more even above the tower. But the point is that looking up, you won't see the looking up above the top of the tower, you won't see the top of the mountain. Whereas that's what our opposition was claiming. You have to see the top of the mountain because the mountain is 4 or 5 times higher, or whatever, 4.5 times higher.
But Brian, the trigonometry that we did was all in relation to the top of Blackpool Tower. You have to put the line on top of Blackpool Tower to make it work. Otherwise, it can be arbitrary. You could slap this line to 6 miles high, and it would still be above both. It would both be above Blackpool Tower and Dow Crag. In order to do trigonometry correctly, you have to use the middle image. In other words, you have to scale it to the tower. You have to run that line across the top of the tower to see where it intersects the mountain. This is what we were saying in the debate we had with Conspiracy Cats.
I remember trying to scale this, and I couldn't scale it simply because I just didn't have the space. I couldn't get my camera low. I had a camera that was only 9 millimeters. And look, there you go. And I move it up to 800 meters, like the eye line, and looking over the top of Blackpool Tower, like, you're seeing nothing but sky. You're not seeing Dow Craig. You're not seeing any of that. You're seeing nothing but sky. So there you go. I mean, there's absolute proof that the whole thing was a farce. And
No, it's not, Brian. How about you do the same scaling and then put the line of sight down on top of the tower?
opposition had no claims, and this absolutely proves that the Earth is flat. You know, there's no way around that. The Earth is flat. This is exactly what I said. And there's not even and this is all autographic, there's not even optical drop or visual occultation being taken into account here. What I might do is when I get to learn how to use the 3D calculator on this a bit better, I'll try and maybe model it out in that. Just to.
But it won't matter if you don't put the lines in where they should be. You've done all this scaling, and all you had to do was lower the line down to see where it intersected. That's all you had to do. Run the line of sight across the top of the tower, see where it intersects the mountain. But you didn't do that, did you, Brian?
It's still...
keep going. Keep going. No, go down to the top of Blackpool Tower. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Now stretch it out. Oh, hold on. Stretch it out to the mountain. Go on. Now go down to the top of the tower. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Lower it. Lower it. There we go. There we go. What's happening there? Where's the mountain in relation to Blackpool Tower? When
there's Blackpool on this, you have the tower out in the middle of the water.
It's 12 miles away.
Yeah, but
right. Okay. So this is.
Brian, this has been going on for a year. It's like you have a fear of pushing the line down to the top of the tower to see where it intersects the mountain. This is not a great look, Brian. Right, let's do some analysis on what your claim really was. Now, let's see where Brian went wrong here. First and foremost, he's got an observer height of 6 meters. Now, that was the ground above mean sea level. That wasn't the case, because we know the time of day that the photograph was taken, we know what the height of the tide was, and we know that the image was taken by somebody roughly around about 2 meters tall. Based upon all of that, we know that the observer height was closer to 9 to 10 meters. So if we go anywhere between 8 and 12 meters, that would be more accurate. Secondly, Blackpool Tower is 158 meters tall. Well done, Brian. Except that isn't its elevation above the water. No. You've just given the height of the building and not taken into account its elevation above sea level. We'll get to that in a minute. And lastly, you then go back to elevation above sea level by giving the known elevation of Dow Crag. 778 meters above mean sea level. So you've confused things completely here. You've given the wrong observer height, you've not taken into account the elevation of Blackpool Tower, and then you've actually gone to the elevation above sea level of Dow Crag. All over the place, Brian. All over the place. You then make an astonishing claim that Dow Crag is 64.38 kilometers from Blackpool Tower. I think we're going to look into that and see whether that's true as well. Okay, so this is Google Earth, and we have Dow Crag, which is here. We're going to see how far it actually is to Blackpool Tower. Let's have a look. Dow Crag. Let's put in Blackpool Tower. And let's have a look-see. Bearing in mind, you said it was 64.38 kilometers. When we actually get the correct distance, it is only 61.94. That's 2.5 kilometers that you've pushed Dow Crag further away. Now, what did you say in the start of the video? You said that if you push things further away, it will still match flat Earth. But it hasn't, right? Even your own calculations don't show that. But you still couldn't get the calculations right. You still couldn't scale it properly. You still believe it was 64.38 kilometers away when it's only 61.94. Okay. Now let's have a look at the actual elevation of the tower. If we hover right outside the tower, we're getting somewhere around about 8 meters in elevation. Somewhere around 8, 9, 10 meters. So you've got to include that onto the height of Blackpool Tower. So 158 meters actually then becomes 168 meters, right? Now, this was something that was done over a year ago. This is the angular size of each on a flat plane. So, on a flat plane, we have the distances, we have the heights of the tower, we have the Old Man of Coniston. Obviously, we're not using that today, we're using Dow Crag, but it's still the same. If the Old Man of Coniston on a flat plane, from this observer height, we would see it would take up 0.56 degrees of the image. And the tower would only take up 0.48 degrees, substantially smaller. In reality, what we actually see is that the tower is substantially bigger than the Old Man of Coniston, thus proving that the angular size of each is consistent, not with a flat plane. Actually, consistent with a globe, because when we have a look at the globe calculations, we see that the Blackpool Tower has 0.48 degrees, as opposed to the Old Man of Coniston, which has 0.3 degrees. And that scales pretty accurately to a globe. Now, this image is rather higgledy-piggledy, but it certainly makes sense to me. If we scroll down here to the bottom left-hand corner, you can actually see an observer height. You can see some lines of sight too, which is incredibly interesting, because what we have here is scaled properly the mountain, which is Dow Crag actually in this particular image. This is scaled correctly. Dow Crag, 778 meters tall. This would be what we would expect to see on a flat plane. In other words, on a flat plane, Dow Crag should be higher than the line of sight, but it's not. We know that Blackpool Tower is substantially higher, and it matches the globe. In fact, when you actually scale it, we bring it down to about 428 meters, and it roughly intersects the tower here, just below the observation deck. Exactly what we see in the original image over here, just below the observation deck. Anyway, Brian, this is terrible stuff, Brian. I really hope that you can push that line down to the top of the tower. I really hope that you can put the correct distances in. I really wish that you would include the elevation of Blackpool Tower, and I really wish you would include the exact observer height. I really wish that you can formulate all this to come to your own conclusions and do it properly and put that damn line on top of Blackpool Tower, and then you will see what it matches. Right, guys, that'll do. See you all in the next one. Take care.